Say hello. My name's Monica Walk-Smith. I work with the Department of City Development, and I'm joined by my colleague, Amy Oath, the Long Range Planning Manager, who is also on the call, will be helping monitor the chat and facilitate the meeting during this time. So thank you for joining us in this virtual meeting. Just a quick note about the meeting format. We're going to do a brief presentation. It'll be recorded. We plan on posting the recording on the website by Monday. And then following the presentation, I'll show you the project website where you can leave comments. We're going to have all the exhibits, all the materials that are shown here tonight will also be on the project website, and there'll be a series of places where you can submit comments and survey questions. If you do have any clarifying questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat, and we'll do our best at the end to answer any of those questions. But please do check out the website once we're done, since that's the best way to make sure that we capture all the comments. It's a slide. Just a quick note about meeting logistics. We are recording this meeting so we can share it on our project website. Please stay muted so we can minimize any distractions. As I mentioned, you can use the chat function and we'll try to answer questions at the end. There is Hmong interpretation available. You can see on your screen on your tab, there's a globe. And if you press that, you'll be taken to the interpreter. We've reserved about an hour for the meeting. However, we don't anticipate that the presentation will take a full hour. In this meeting, we're going to go over the purpose of the plan, what we've heard from public engagement to date, review some of the draft recommendations, and then do a brief orientation on the project website where the materials can be explored in more detail. So welcome if you're new to this study and joining for the first time, or if you've been following along from the beginning. We kicked off the West Side Area Plan Update. We had our first meeting in December 2024 and a virtual meeting in January 2025. There was about establishing goals, identifying the opportunities. This meeting today, we're a little past the halfway mark with the study. We're going to be going over some draft recommendations, taking what we heard in the first meeting and at other public engagement events, and coming back to get feedback on those on the recommendations. The next step will be drafting the document. So this is a great place to plug in. Just some background about what an area plan is and how we use it. The Department of City Development, this is a long-term plan. It provides an update for land use and development decisions, as well as public investment. We use these plans every day to make decisions about whether to support a change in land use, to support a new development, or when we're evaluating land sales for city-owned properties or vacant lots. It also helps us prioritize improvements to our parks, transportation infrastructure with the resources that we do have, and that we can do that in a way that's fair and sustainable. A comprehensive plan, we do not tell specific businesses where to locate. There's also some things that are beyond our control that other governmental entities like county parks or Milwaukee Public Schools that they have control over. We do coordinate, but closely, but we focus mostly on the land use and development side of things. The west side is a rather large area, as you can see from this map. This map shows our study boundaries. It extends on the southern part to just south of I-94. It goes all the way north to Silver Spring, kind of hugging the western boundary of the city. It's home to many different neighborhoods, a notable number of institutions and destinations, from the county zoo, American Family Stadium, the Pettit Center, the VA Center, a couple colleges within that area. There's many schools, places of worship. So not only is it home to nearly 1/6 of the city's population, it also brings in a lot of visitors because of the many attractions and destinations in the area. Just to recap some of the public engagement that we've done to date, every planning study that the Department of City Development leads has numerous opportunities for input from residents. We know that residents, business owners, community stakeholders are experts about their neighborhoods, and we want to make sure that these plan recommendations respond to the community's priorities. As I mentioned, we held our first community meeting a little over a year ago, and that was the first step to better understand residents' goals and to establish a vision. Between community meeting number 1 and now, there's been a lot of other engagement. We have a community advisory committee that's made up of about 20 people from throughout the neighborhoods in the plan area. And they've served kind of as a sounding board for some of the materials. And we've made revisions and changes based on the feedback we've received. We've also met with some technical focus groups. There was a design charrette specifically for Blue Mound Road that I can share a little bit more about. We've done some outreach for some of the businesses in the area, and we've also attended neighborhood and community events. A key part of our engagement has also been online, because we know that that is where people are often and is most convenient for folks like now. We have our website, engagemilwaukee.gov/westside. To date, we've had over 4,000 views and received over 600 comments. So that's an important part of to round out our engagement. And as we've been talking with people, there's a few key themes that I'd like to share that have emerged. One that is great to hear, one thing we've heard over and over again from people is that they really like their neighborhood. People they value the attractive, stable neighborhoods that make up the West Side. We've heard also that people enjoy the convenient access to shopping, services, employment. It's easier for people with a car, but for those, it is also well connected by transit as well. There are concerns we've heard about housing affordability and options as people move through their life stages. We've heard that loud and clear from folks. There's also ongoing concerns about traffic safety. There's appreciation for the recent traffic calming efforts to improve safety, and our colleagues in Department of Public Works have been tracking those and collecting data on that. We also heard a lot about parks just really adding value and just being beautiful and adding just very attractive spaces that people like to visit. We heard a desire for more shopping options nearby. In particular, we're hearing need for grocery stores, medical services, some of those daily needs. I'm going to go over some of the draft recommendations. And we've divided these into different categories: economic development, land use, transportation, parks and open space, kind of catalytic site concepts, and corridor recommendations. And so I'm going to go through kind of what the existing conditions are, what we've observed in the past year of analysis, and also then what we're looking to recommend moving forward, based on what we've heard, based on our analysis. But we did a market analysis at the beginning of this study, just to better understand the different demographic and market trends and the implications for this area. And, one of the key takeaways is this is a stable, diverse, middle class and working class area. One interesting factor to note is that household size is decreasing somewhat. So this means that on average, there's fewer people per housing unit. This is due to a variety of reasons, like there's fewer households with children, elderly residents are staying longer in their homes, and people are living by themselves. So even while the population is pretty stable. Um, we do see an increased demand for housing based on that decreased household size. Um, Another thing we do see a decline in home ownership over time. That decline seems to have flattened out a bit. Um, Also, this won't come as a surprise to many people, but we do see an increase in housing costs, both prices of rent and home sale prices have increased steadily. Those two graphs, where you see the upward line, indicates that prices have been going up. This is what's happening in the city. This is what's happening in the nation. So it's not surprising, but as we know, this puts financial pressure on households in the area. Some of the recommendations that came out of the market analysis, there's three key recommendations. First was to prioritize neighborhood stabilization and resident empowerment. And this includes leveraging and partnering with the many institutions within the area to expand job training and workforce development programs to help residents strengthen their skills and access greater economic opportunities. Second, increase the housing supply. A significant number of renter households in the area are cost burden, meaning they pay a significant portion of their income every month towards their housing cost. And reinvesting in the existing housing stock, along with encouraging new infill development, particularly housing options that are affordable to a range of incomes, can improve housing stability and support the financial well-being of residents. Third, gets to a point earlier that the West Side benefits from the many well-used, attractive parks and green spaces. These are valuable community assets, and they enhance the quality of life and they attract future residents, and they help retain current residents. The next category is land use. You can see from this map, the different colors indicate different land uses. So you can see that the vast majority of the area is like yellow, beige, and that indicates residential uses. It indicates as well that it's mostly single family and duplexes. You do see a more like the brown color is multifamily. We do see that primarily along some major streets. We also see like the red indicates commercial, the red and pink indicates commercial activity that we see along some of the major corridors in the area. So this kind of shows us what's here, what's on the ground. I'll go through this quickly, but looking at zoning, land use and zoning they're different, though they're very much related. So you can see the similarities between these two maps and the colors. I think what's the important takeaway for this is that zoning is the way that local municipalities like the city of Milwaukee regulate how land can be used, what it can be used for, what it cannot be used for, and also what that development looks like. For example, there are certain areas where industrial activity is not allowed. For example, most of the residential areas. It also indicates like how a building looks, how tall a building is, or how big it is. You can see that most of the West Side is zoned for single family and duplex housing with commercial along the corridors, which corresponds to the land use. In terms of like looking forward, we had a lot of discussions with residents, and a few things have come up, and these recommendations have also been informed by some of our other concurrent planning efforts, especially around housing. But the draft priority recommendations, one is to encourage a greater mix of uses, especially in those traditionally commercial areas and corridors. Housing, health-related business and services are very much in demand. Commercial corridors, especially where there's existing vacancies or maybe there's underutilized parking lots, can offer an opportunity to add more development. And it can be done in a way that's it's really convenient because people are already living in the area. There's services and shopping amenities nearby, often in proximity to transit and major transportation routes. Um, also, the second recommendation is to maintain and enhance neighborhood character. As noted in the previous slides, single family and duplex homes are typical and common in many of the West Side neighborhoods. And at the same time, there's also an opportunity to expand housing options and provide new housing styles to meet the needs of all income ranges and life stages. And these can be considered on a contextual basis. Thirdly, allow flexibility for institutional uses. There's a lot of schools, places of worship. There's a lot um, of these types of buildings, and being flexible, and if buildings are no longer needed for their original purpose, reusing them, whether it's for housing or office or some community serving uses, can really help retain the building, and put it to good use in a way that benefits the community. Um, Another note is that there's not a lot of industrial areas in this, primarily along State Street and then south of I-94, but to discourage residential uses, but to maybe consider more employment-oriented uses, such as like office and things that attract jobs, but not residential. So in general, I think the key takeaway is adding a little more flexibility to what we see now, especially on some of those major corridors that are listed there. Moving forward to transportation, in the current conditions, we see that there's a number of positives. Transit it's available throughout the area, though any future service cuts are concerning, especially since nearly 9% of workers commute via bus currently. On the other hand, and we know that sidewalks are universal, as is the case throughout the city. The major streets continue to be challenging and sometimes unsafe for all modes of transportation. Particularly people walking and biking. These streets can also divide neighborhoods, make it tough to get to cross the street simply. The map on the right hand of the screen shows what's our high injury network. And this is something that our Department of Public Works puts together and revises on a regular basis. But it shows where there's a high concentration of injuries. These include Hampton, Capitol, Fond du Lac, 60th Street, Burleigh, and Center Street. So we recommend prioritizing these streets for improvements to make them safer. To get to some more specifics about specific roadway improvements and recommend our recommendations for prioritizing safety and aesthetic improvements. There's a few streets that really kind of rose to the top. One is 76th Street. It's a part of the state highway network, but we really want to, whenever it's reconstructed, make sure that we improve transit, biking, and the walking experience, even to reevaluate the number of traffic lanes and what the parking needs are and see if they can be repurposed. And that will, of course, involve some more community input. Also looking at Blue Mound Road, improving the pedestrian experience with better street crossings and simply better streetscaping, more trees, more plantings to make it more inviting. What we heard also from businesses is that the streetscaping and a safe pedestrian environment really help bolster businesses and people's perception of an area. Burleigh Street also, we're recommending that there be consider a road diet, also with streetscaping improvements in that area. And then 60th Street, especially near Midtown, you have a residential area and a major commercial center, and they just feel very disconnected. So 60th Street's a spine throughout the west side, and making sure that that you can cross it in a comfortable manner. There's also a lot of trails just out, within the area and just outside. So improving access for on street to some of the trails, like the Hank Aaron on the southern portion and also the Oak Leaf. Burleigh Street, again, is an area that connects to the Oak Leaf Trail, but it's difficult. There's no bike accommodations on Burleigh Street for the most part. There's also a number of grade separated interchanges within this area. There's State and Holly, Silver Spring in 76, where they're building the new MPS Rec Community Center. And it's just the grade separated interchanges make it. That's the second picture there on the right. Just very difficult to access some of the amenities nearby. And then just continuing to work closely with our DPW colleagues and the work that they're doing. If you haven't checked out 414 in Motion, I would definitely recommend that on the engage.milwaukee.gov site. DPW is doing their own planning study. So I would definitely give a plug for that. Parks and open space is our last category of our general recommendations. The good news is that the map shows that everything in green, in the light green and not hatched, their residents are within half a mile or about a 10-minute walk, 15-minute walk of a park. So we know that there's like decent park access. At the same time, we want to make sure that we prioritize reinvestment based on equity and access. Also continue to engage with residents as recreational needs evolve, keep meeting those needs. We also recommend integrating green infrastructure whenever possible, supporting friends of groups, and also just continuing to coordinate with county parks and Milwaukee Rec to make sure that we're using our resources efficiently. Those two entities actually manage most of the park space in this area. And we also heard the cemeteries. They're well used by residents for walking and viewing wildlife. So just it's a notable asset in this area. So those are some of the draft priority recommendations that kind of are general plan recommendations. We did take a deeper dive into a number of specific sites, and those are what you see on the map there, highlighted in pink. These are areas where we created hypothetical conceptual redevelopment scenarios. And these represent opportunities for changes that could have a particularly positive effect on the surrounding area. In an area this large, it's difficult to narrow down which sites we choose. However, many of the recommendations for these sites are also applicable in other locations. Some of the common themes that you'll see, I'll go through these briefly, but some of the common themes that you'll see are adding more housing choices, also rethinking some suburban style strip mall layouts. I will go through these quickly, and this is definitely somewhere where I encouraged you to take a closer look on the website and spend some time with these and give us your feedback. One important note is that for all of these are just showing potential redevelopment. They're hypothetical and they're conceptual. They're private property. So any actual redevelopment depends on the desire and the initiative of the property owner. These are supposed to be inspirational and just an example to share with developers and property owners to kind of push the envelope and also to share what the community is asking for and looking for. So I will. The first one, this is Blue Mound in Mitchell Boulevard Park. So that's around 52nd Street and Blue Mound. This shows the potential to add in some pedestrian focused road improvements between the businesses to the north and the park. It shows some outdoor patio seating at the park. It also shows, like in a property just to the east of the park that's been for sale, options for townhomes or an apartment building, but with direct access to the park. So there's a couple different options there. Most of these catalytic sites that I'm going to show have a couple different options, just to show the range of what's possible. Blue Mound Holly, there's currently a school there, but if redeveloped, it could be reimagined with medium density housing infill. There also could be like smaller, what we call cottage court, smaller, smaller homes with a shared central green space. So there's this concept. Blue Mound in 76, this is a major intersection. There's the bus rapid transit. The Connect One has a station in this area. This is an area where the zoning is for a more suburban layout. There's a lot of surface parking. Reimagined, it could be a more walkable, compact node with a mix of commercial and high density residential uses, with also some gathering spaces included. And there's a few options there to consider. Looking at Burleigh and 76th, this is especially, I think, an example that could be fit in other locations that have a similar built environment, such as Center Street, such as North Avenue. This is where we do see quite a bit of commercial vacancy. We know the retail market is challenging. But to try to reuse some of that older houses, some of the older building stock, or to imagine something new where we're looking at maybe retail on the first floor and then a few stories of residential above. And I think this is a good example of what could be possible throughout the area, not just at this particular location. Looking at Capitol in 76, again, a very large intersection. We see a lot of parking lots in the front. So we have some underutilized properties and large surface parking lot. It could support some mixed use development, maybe some residential density, just something that would. We also heard about the need for better streetscaping, more greenery to break up a lot of the concrete and like add a better sense of safety, really, just walking in this area. Looking at Midtown, this is an area where you may have seen in the news, there's a proposal for housing. What we heard was just to support the retail that is there, adding residential, some community serving uses perhaps, could just really add another level of vibrancy to this area, to activate it at all times of the day, to activate it during like just all times of the day. And another thing that would be critical is to improve some of the connections. So people, once they park, can walk to the different areas and not feel like they have to get into their car and move and go. This is the where the ramps are with Highway 145 that goes kind of northwest from here. There's some really large kind of awkward freeway ramps now. At 76 and Villard, there could be potential, these are another location where those ramps, that area where the ramps are, could be repurposed for housing or mixed use development. These, I know this is very small and probably difficult to see, but there were some design charrettes that were done previously, one for Burleigh in the Sherman Park area, and then another for North Avenue in the Uptown Crossing District. We wanted to incorporate those into this plan. These were done previously. We wanted to make sure we elevated these because they were done with a lot of community input. So there's Burleigh, and there's also the Uptown Crossing that looks at a few sites within this corridor. So I would definitely check those out. So I know that was a lot of information. Going to check in if there's anything in the chat.
Nope, nothing yet.
Okay, great. Thank you for keeping an eye on that. So right now that's the information. I am going to go to the project website. I can just do a little orientation of where you can find these materials. So if you want to take a closer look at it, please do. So the website is engage.milwaukee.gov/westside. Please do take the online surveys on the draft recommendations. We are asking for comments by April 10th, so about 3 weeks. And also then there'll be at least one more community meeting. So please do sign up on the website if you haven't signed up already. So with that, feel free if you want to go to the website directly, fabulous. Otherwise, I will do a brief orientation. Let me see, just as I hit. There we go. Okay. And let me know if anyone is not seeing our project website. I hope
it's still showing the PowerPoint right now.
Got it. Okay.
And there's a question in the chat that I can answer while you're working on that. Can we share the now website showed up. Can we share the website and surveys with the rest of our, please, yes, please share with your neighbor associations, your neighbors, whoever you want that either live, works, or plays somewhere in the West Side. We would love to hear from them and get their input as well.
Yes, thank you for that question. Everyone, please spread this to your friends, neighbors. We'll also be getting out through our means, but honestly, hearing it directly from someone you know is extremely valuable. So thank you for that question. Okay, so here is the project website. Right here on the front page, you'll see take the surveys. You can click give your input. And it'll take you to 3 separate tabs. The first one is like the meeting exhibits. So you can see everything that I just went through is on here. And if you scroll down, there are survey questions for each of these, for each category of recommendation. So economic development, land use, transportation, et cetera. So this helps us prioritize to hear from you what you like, what's most important to you, what's least important to you. So please do take some time to do those. They're multiple choice. Also the site concept. So this is what I went through briefly. So please, if you click on these, you can make it larger so you can see it a little more clearly. Let me back up. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. Yeah, so all the site concepts, you can page through them to go to, like, you can page through all of them. There's a series of questions for all of them. Again, asking what's most important, what's least important. Are there any other ideas that you'd like to see? There's another tab here called Corridor Opportunities. And this is where, again, you can always expand it to get a so you can view it better. We looked at most of the major roads within the study area, and there's some very specific locational recommendations for the development potential, for making the streets safer, for beautification. There's a bunch of different categories, And we took like kind of a very detailed look at these. So we're talking, um, again, you hit next on the bottom and it'll take you. So there's Blue Mound, Fleet, State, North Avenue, Center Street, Capitol Drive, Burleigh going north. It covers almost all of the major streets within this area. So yeah, please take a look by April 10th. We're asking. Um, so yes, everything is on here. So yes, so I think if there's any other questions, please let me know. Again, really appreciate everyone spending a nice, almost spring-like evening with us here. What we'll do after this is that we're going to collect these comments. We're going to report back and summarize these comments, and then they'll go into working on the draft document, starting to like really finalize and firm up these recommendations. So this is a great time to plug in and provide those comments. So with that, feel free to enjoy the rest of your evening. Check out the
Wait,
project website.
Monica, I just answered
Yep.
one of the questions in the chat. So Dr. Potts, let's chat and talk a little bit more and see if there's a recommendation we can put in the plan related to that idea. But then there's another question that just popped in. Can you just give feedback on the areas that most concern you and your neighbors, or do you have to complete the entire survey for it to count?
Oh, good question. You Yeah, you can if you can focus on it's a large area. So yes, focus on the area that's most important to you. That is completely fine.
Yeah, you can skip over a question and we'll just get answers to whichever ones you respond to.
Yes. Excellent question. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Potts. Yes, we can follow up. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for that. And yes, please spread the word. Really appreciate that. Okay. With that, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And I hope everyone has a good week, good weekend, and we look forward to seeing the comments.
Thank you all.
Good to see so many familiar faces.